my explanation of my experience for the Alcatraz Sharkfest Swim 2026. As you can see, here's the course map. It's somewhat of a very active water. So the morning starts off with a race brief, and then everyone takes a short walk from Aquatic Park over to one of the ferries. Then they give a countdown for the start to jumping in. And in our case, we were jumping out of both left and right sides, and they were doing left, center, and right. So immediately you have to jump in and swim away from the ferry. Then there's about a 10-minute gap between first horn and race start. So you're kind of just sitting around treading water. And then once they sound that horn, if you've done triathlons, you've been there. It becomes a human blender. Just off to the left, you can see a boat. So there are a huge number of kayakers, stand-up paddleboarders, jet skis, boats that will keep you on course, keep you safe. They're there for your safety. In our case, I think they try to do this swim pretty much with the current, except you have to swim just a bit to the left of the current so you don't get taken all the way out to the Golden Gate Bridge. But that's what all the kayakers and safety skis and boats are there for. So here's an example of just the activity. I don't really want to call it violent, but it is very active. The waters were only about a 1-foot sea, but man, when you're down there in the sea, that chop feels good. It's challenging. You can see San Francisco skyline just over there in the distance. And so once I got going, it was just pretty much trying to keep a pace. I had a plan to feel it out, and at a certain distance I would, swim harder, and at a certain distance I would slow down. In this case, I was just one pace all the way, trying to maintain a safe, steady heartbeat. Looking back at my data on my Garmin watch, I was actually averaging 145 BPMs heart rate the entire time. I never really tried to swim faster, and never really tried to swim slower, but I just kept going. Another example of just me running into others. Oh, the entrance into Aquatic Park I thought was the most choppy. I thought the waves were the biggest just as we were approaching in here. The kayakers were trying to tell us to stay left, so and they were quite directive about it, and which I enjoyed. I really appreciate all of their volunteers, and I appreciate all of that. So here we are, just making it into the jetty past the seawall. And at this point I was like, I know it's over, it's almost over. But it was probably another 300 yards, I'm guessing, from the entrance of Aquatic Park from, the ocean into the finish line. But the water had flattened out. And by that point, I had gotten into my, what I would call a faster swim. Not much of a fast swimmer to begin with, but I just kind of turned it on. And then once I saw other people standing up in the shore, I knew I could stand up. I didn't know how deep it was. But came in here, I saw the two big orange buoys, and I said, all right, go through that. Here we are. Race finish. I did it in 1:06:55.